On this episode, we delve deep into mixed cultural relationships, specifically mine, to dig up some helpful relationship insights.
So if you're planning on settling down with a Thai partner anytime soon, you'll get a lot out of this episode of the Bangkok podcast.
Sawadee crap, this be the Bangkok podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 and who once, true story, wore a surgical mask in high school for a day because I thought it would be kooky and funny. Was I prescient or just a dumbass? Your call, listeners.
Well, you know my answer. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 19 years ago, fell in love with not having my temperature checked everywhere I went, and so I stayed. But now I'm thinking about leaving because everywhere I go. So I think I had my temperature checked 4 times today.
You want to hear a gross joke?
Sure.
You know the difference between a oral thermometer and a rectal thermometer?
I think I do.
Taste.
Ooh, okay. That is kind of gross. Anyway. After that beginning, we want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Craig Chiselle, who supports us at the show shout-out level. Craig, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Stick around after we're done hearing Greg's thoughts on his long-term cross-cultural relationship with his wife to hear why Craig has officially been declared the anti-Greg.
Yeah, that's right.
Before we start, a huge thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our regular show a day early, behind-the-scenes photos and videos of our interviews, discounts on swag, which you can find on our website, and various other things that aren't available to regular listeners. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and random topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we did our now standard coronavirus update, including our advice on travel to Thailand, thoughts on working from home with kids, and what each of our neighborhoods looks like on the ground in the midst of this pandemic. To become a patron, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support.
All right, well, before we jump into it, a quick few show notes right off the top. First, the winner of our book giveaway. On last week's show, we announced that we'd be giving out a copy of Ron Morris's latest book called Last Century, The Tales of an Adventurer in the Asian Tiger Era. And the winner, chosen at random from the entries by a random number generator provided by Guggen, is one Mr. William McLaughlin. Congrats, William. We'll be reaching out with an email and we will send that book off ASAP. It's wrapped in bubble wrap and tape, guaranteed coronavirus free. So thanks for everyone who emailed. It was cool to get your emails, and we'll have more giveaways like this in the future, so keep listening. And second, I was chatting with one of our listeners online in Seattle, one Mr. Steve. How you doing there, Steve? And he said that on our March 6th episode, we said that it was still safe for tourists to visit Thailand. And I feel we have a bit of an obligation to update that. And we talked about this in more depth on the bonus show we just recorded, which goes out to patrons. But I think we should mention it on the main show too. I wouldn't say that coming to Thailand is dangerous because you probably are no more or less likely to get the coronavirus here than you are anywhere else if you're doing similar things. But that being said, I still wouldn't come unless you were planning on staying for a long time and had the resources to do that, because it is extremely unpredictable now.
Yeah, this is the first week that I'm just basically telling people I think it's not a good time to come to Thailand. For some of you, that might have been obvious for a while, but most of the last couple of months, I've actually thought a visit here was not a bad idea as long as you were not at risk or you weren't coming from an at-risk area. But as we mentioned on the bonus show, things have changed. The mood has changed. People are hunkered down, and it's probably just not a good time to come.
Yeah, I agree. Unless you want to come by yourself with a lot of money in the bank and stay on a deserted beach or island for a few weeks or months,
that's
then
right.
Probably a good time to come.
Yeah, there's definitely people who would appreciate the revenue, no doubt about that.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're more the type who wants to go out and party and have a good time and make friends, best to stay away until all this dies down. So just some advice from us. All right. Well, on this episode, we thought we would turn the focus inward a little bit and discuss the interesting tidal pool of multicultural marriages, in particular, mine. Now, this came from an idea that Wes, one of our patrons at the executive producer level, discussed with us. We worked on a couple of angles, and he said that he really liked our Third Culture Kids episode. And he asked, I'd like to know how you met, dated, and decided to marry your wives, and then how culture and language play a part in your households, which I thought was a pretty interesting idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, now since it's very likely that most people in Thailand will be spending a lot of time inside together over the next few months, and hot on the heels of a report from China that said divorce rates spiked there after the quarantine was lifted, we thought it might be interesting to discuss some cultural quirks and funny asides and insights that one gets when marrying into Thai culture. Now, Ed, I volunteered for this because I don't think my wife listens to the show, and I don't think anyone she knows listens to the show. I'm not going to be dishing out gossip or anything on my wife. I love her and respect her a great deal. But I thought it would be interesting to discuss about, like we have a very traditional, almost boring relationship. There's nothing like crazy weird or nutty about it. It's very, very traditional and boring in the best way. But it is an intercultural relationship, a multicultural relationship, and we come from two different cultures, and there is stuff that both of us need to learn and to be flexible about and with. We have a kid, so that, mixes things up a bit. So you said you were kind of interested in a couple of different angles here, so let's kick it off.
Well, I do think this question of how to meet, I guess people would say good girls. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but people do think of Thailand as a place to come and meet a woman, but a lot of times people are just looking for a good time. And so if you're like longtime guys like us, maybe a little bit older, maybe looking for a serious relationship. So really the question is, how do you find a wife in Thailand or like a long-term relationship in Thailand? And I think it's a good question, man. I'm not even sure I have an answer. I mean, I know specific anecdotes. I mean, I know how I met my wife. You're going to tell the story about how you met your wife. But damn, I mean, I would say 10 years ago, I would have said, stay away from online dating.
Yeah, right.
But now I'm not so sure. I mean, I have good friends who met on Tinder who are married now. I mean, I know everyone has Tinder horror stories and the success rate is not super high, but I know a lot of people who met online, man. So
yeah, I remember the summer before I came to Thailand in 2001. My one of my best friends back home, Alec, he met his now wife online. And I remember when the first time I met her, we all went out for dinner with a big group of people, and he pulled me aside, and I knew that they had met online. And he's like, "Look, man, don't tell anyone we met on the internet. Okay, like we don't want to come off like a bunch of nerds, So it was like a huge secret back then, but now it's de rigueur.
Yeah, so it's funny. I know this is not quite the topic. I mean, the topic is really kind of like your story, but I do think this is just a totally valid question of like, how do you find like a quality partner here that has long-term potential, potentially marriage potential? I'm not sure there's a formula for it.
Yeah, you're right, man. And the phrase, how do you find a good girl in Bangkok? Like that's loaded with all kinds of, sexist, misogynistic, perhaps subtext, but it's a question that I've heard dozens and dozens of times.
Right.
So whether you agree with how it's presented or not is beside the point. The fact is, it gets asked all the time. Right. And in my case, it was super boring, man. A friend of a friend. We went out for dinner on a restaurant on Soi Convent that doesn't exist anymore. And she was a friend of a friend, and we got to talking and chatting, and I thought she was nice and she was pretty and she spoke pretty good English, and got her Microsoft chat details. This is back in the days of Microsoft. This was about over 10 years ago now. And we just started chatting online, and we had a date. We had a couple more dates.
Well, wait a second. Hold on a second. So the initial connection was just a friend of yours said, "I know this Thai girl," kind of thing, or?
No. It was just happened to be like two groups of friends who had some overlap, meeting at a restaurant with other friends that didn't know each other. And she was in like the other group.
Okay, so you just made like dinner plans with a whole bunch of people.
Yes.
And she happened to be there like one or two, like a couple steps of separation from you, and so you just met her at a dinner party.
Yeah, no, this was long before Tinder and all that stuff. So
Right.
I'm still old school, and I still think there's probably better value in meeting people face to face and just.
But I was going to say this whole question of how to meet like a partner for like a long-term relationship, meeting through friends, I think is a classic answer to weed out like super questionable people. like hopefully your friends are reasonably cool people with their shit together.
Right, you've already got at least one thing in common, like, oh, we both know X, we both know Somchai.
Right,
and
right.
Somchai is not a complete psycho, so he generally knows good people, I would assume.
Right,
so
right.
you're already a step up.
Yeah. So maybe that's first piece of advice would be go through friends.
Yeah, I would say that. And I'm not going to turn this into a show about here's my advice on how to meet women, because everyone is different. But it's not even necessarily women, it's how to meet your partner.
Right.
So like, if you're a woman, I wouldn't expect you to go down to like a billiard hall and look for Mr. Right. It's probably not going to happen. It goes both ways too. So, it's different for everyone. You're right. There's no blanket answer. But
now let me ask you this: so when you started dating your wife, did you feel that the way the dating went was significantly different from if you were back in Canada with a Canadian girl?
Ooh, interesting. Now I'm gonna stray here. The only time I'm straying. Before I met my wife, the first date I ever had in Thailand, this girl named Meow, which is an unbelievable name for a Westerner because no one's named. Who's named Meow anyway? So I went on a date with this girl and we agreed to meet at Siam Discovery Center down in Siam Square, and I showed up and she was there with her friend. And I was like, what's going on? Like, is this going to be a crazy adventure? Or anyway, her friend was basically chaperoning the date, and I didn't know it at the time, but that's very common.
So it's funny you said that. Almost the exact same thing happened to me. I was in Thailand for 7 days, and I went on a dinner date, and the girl brought a friend of hers.
Yeah, it's a bit. It can throw you off. It's a little bit shocking when the first timers. You're like, what's up here? But I mean, safety in numbers, I guess. And you're meeting some weird guy from the other side of the world. You don't know who's going to show up.
So, what was it like with your wife?
Yeah, man, it was pretty standard. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. We went out for drinks. We went out for dinner. I was aware that I probably wasn't going to be like, closing any deals really soon. I knew that things were going to have to move a little bit slower. And no, it's serious. I was very aware that I was going to have to follow her lead on what to expect culturally, what lines I should and should not cross. I was very, very careful because I didn't want to be like, I wasn't in it for fun. I wanted to really get to know this girl.
Yeah, well, it sounds like obviously you really liked her. So when you really like a girl, then you're on your best behavior. You're like, all right, I'm just going to do every right thing, whatever she wants me to do, I'm going to do.
Right. So I took her lead. I followed her lead, and it turned out she was very Westernized, and I didn't have that many cultural obstacles to overcome. But I definitely was on my back foot, and I was like, you know what, I'll take it slow and easy. Right. I'm not going to expect anything, but I'll listen more than I talk.
Now, this is a somewhat dangerous question, but I think there is a lot of discussion about like the success rate of these Thai women, Western men relationships because they're so common. So on the one hand, it seems like it's a perfect fit because there's just so many couples where it's a Thai woman and a Western guy. Yeah. Super common. And again, I know this is kind of a loaded question. Do you think a lot of these relationships are doomed? I mean, maybe there's this initial attraction, but in your case, I feel like you got lucky because, like you said, your wife was pretty Westernized, or it wasn't that much of an adjustment for you.
Interesting question. And you know what? I think you need to think of getting into whether you're a man or woman or in Thailand or outside any multicultural mixed relationship. Let's use Thailand for our case. If you're getting into a relationship with a Thai person, you need to think of it as coming to Thailand in itself. Like when a lot of people come to Thailand, they can't handle it. They're not ready for it. They're not ready for the change. They're not ready for the the sacrifices they're going to have to make if they want to survive and thrive here. And it's the same as getting into a relationship with someone from a different culture. If you're going to need to make some sacrifices, and you're going to need to compromise on a lot of stuff that you probably would never have to compromise if you got in a relationship with someone back home. So if you go in with that mindset and you know that stuff is coming, I think it's much more likely that you're going to succeed. Same as coming to Thailand. If you know that you're not going to be able to walk down a smooth sidewalk, or you're going to, you're not going to be able. You're going to have to stand at the beginning of every movie, or you need to be ready for these kind of things.
Well, as our buddy John says, like, to live here happily, you have to kind of expand your range of just acceptable behavior. It's like you just have to just have a broad definition of what is okay.
Right. So like if you're the kind of person that comes to Thailand and says like oh, I hate how I hate how the sidewalks are never. I hate how the taxis are always doing that. Like, you're constantly looking for something to bitch about. You're probably going to be the same kind of person that says like, I hate how my Thai partner sits on the floor to eat their stinky som tam pu. Like you've got to have some flexibility there. Yeah, otherwise it's just a countdown to disaster.
For us, I think it's easier because obviously we're here. I wonder if this might make for an interesting show. Like, I wonder if there's a difference when, let's say, Thai women are in Canada or in the U.S. Like, do they feel pressure to act in an American or Western way? I mean, it's not like we're not saying that you need to act Thai if you're a Western guy with a Thai woman. We're not saying that, but we are saying that you just have to let Thai people be Thai people, and you can't try to shape them or get them to behave in a Western way. Like, since we're kind of the foreigners or the outsiders, it's a little bit more obvious to you and I that we can't demand that Thai people act in a certain way, like for a certain occasion you must behave a certain way.
Right. We're the small fish in the big pond, and the sooner you just accept that and deal with it, the better off you'll be, I think.
Yeah. These relationships are so common. There must be some data out there. But I really bet the success rate depends on to what extent the Thai person was already open to Western ways. It's almost like a tautology, but I think that a lot of the women that you and I have dated or married, it's just like before we met them, they were already had good English or understood Western culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like so obviously our wives are Thai, but they're also Thais with like an open to Western viewpoints. You know what I mean?
Right. And I always say this is not a knock against Thai culture at all, which I love and I'm fascinated by. But one of the things I love about my wife is that she's not a Thai girl. And that's probably sort of more insight into my own insecurities. But I like that she's able to watch Western movies with me, and I like that she's able to understand, for the most part, concepts that I'm familiar with. Maybe not agree with them, but at least understand them.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is she's not super Thai.
Yeah,
she's not super Thai, hardcore. It's so funny, but it's just like, this happens sometimes in Bangkok, but it happens more if you're outside of Bangkok. There's certain Thai people, you just get the feeling that they've never interacted with foreigners before, and they just walk away or won't talk to you. It's just like there's just like some panic in their eye, and they're like, "Oh my God, a white person," and then they just and they just get away. So there's this whole group of Thai people. Who knows what percent it is, but it might be like 60-70% of Thai people. I don't know. Like they're not Westernized, and they don't speak English, and they pretty much just avoid foreigners. I doubt a relationship with a Thai girl that comes out of that. It would be pretty hard to bridge that gap. So I think you do need a partner who already has a mind that's kind of open to your culture and where you're coming from.
Exactly, and that dovetails nicely with what I just said about how you have to have an open mind too, and understand that there's going to be sacrifices that you have to make, that both of you are going to have to make, and hopefully you can kind of meet in the middle. One other thing I was lucky with my wife was her family, because the old saying, when you marry a Thai person, you also marry their family,
right?
Which is true for the most part. But my wife's family is unusually hip and cool. They're not super traditional. They didn't demand a dowry when we got married, which is good because I had about $16 in the bank. You know, her mom is really cool. She speaks English. She's very funny. And, you know, she's not high so at all. She's very like middle class Thai person. But you know, my wife has a brother and a sister, and they don't speak English hardly at all, so I don't really know them that well. But I was very cool in that they didn't demand a lot from me. Like they'd be like, "Oh,
Right.
she's got a foreigner. That means that he's like rich, and we're
Right.
gonna have babies soon." And they were pressuring her for babies and stuff like that. It was none of that stuff. So I was lucky in that regard.
You know, it's funny because we're talking to you, we're talking to someone who's happy and in like a successful marriage, but it's not really luck in a way. It's just that you know, the bottom line is, if on the first date you got a different vibe from her, it just never would have evolved into the way it did. You know, but you just got a good vibe. You just got a good vibe from her, and it just meant that your mind was open and her mind was open, right?
That is right. And you just reminded me of, I got to tell this story. This is a funny story. This is, I maybe have told this before, but I don't think so. This was one of the first dates I had in Thailand with this girl I met on a speedboat going to Koh Samet years and years, like 15
Wow.
years ago. And she set me up with one of her friends, and I met her at a coffee world at MBK. And very nice girl. I didn't know anything about Thai culture at the time. So we met and had a coffee. And again, she was with, this is a separate girl from Meow. Not like I did a lot of dating here. Don't get me wrong. But she was also with her cousin, and they both came to this coffee date. So
wow.
we hung out and we had some dinner and we talked a little bit, and it was fine. And then this girl was like, "Can you drive me home?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll take you home in a taxi. Make sure you get home safe." So we got in a taxi, and I didn't speak any Thai. So she's speaking to the taxi driver, blah, 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 blah. And he's driving and he's driving and he's driving. Dude, 45 minutes it took. And she must have lived up in Nonthaburi by Cockret or down in like
wow.
Samut somewhere.
Oh, wow.
It was like way out on the sticks. So we pull up at this little house and she's like, "Okay, it was very nice to meet you." And she's like, "I have a gift for you." And she pulled out a gift, like a wrapped gift out of her purse.
Wow.
Like a Christmas gift.
Wow.
And she gave it to me, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you too. And you know, let's talk soon." I never saw her again. But as I was driving away in the taxi, I opened the gift, and it was a box of Pretz. You know, those like snacks, those like beer pretzel things you can buy at 7-Eleven. And like it was,
That's so
I didn't
weird.
know what to make of it. It was so weird.
It's so
and it was,
odd.
but it was so
odd.
sweet, and it was such a nice gesture. and I
Yes,
ate
that
the
is
Pretz,
very
and
sweet. That is very sweet. Yes.
It was just weird.
Wow.
But I was lucky with my wife's family, and you know, there was no pressure from our families are similar. There's no pressure from either side to get married. Like, we better have kids, and of course both grandparents wanted kids, but they were never harping
Right.
about it. They were cool
Right.
about
Right.
it. And after about 5 years of dating, I decided it was time to propose to my wife. And now the way I'm going to say this does not sound good, but believe me, I mean it in the most romantic way possible. You know, I love my wife and she's my life partner, but I never grew up wanting to get married, and I sure as hell didn't want any kids. I was adamant that I was never going to have any kids. It's funny because I'm the only one in my family that does have kids. Out of all of my family, I'm the one that no one
really?
would have bet would be a stable family man, but here I am. Anyway, the reason I decided to marry my wife, of course I loved her, and of course I wanted to be with her, but the defining bit of sort of advice that was going over and over my brain was that if I don't do it, she's going to find someone who will, so I better do it. Doesn't sound romantic, but it's worked out pretty well.
So, dude, you know, your story is your story, but for all of our listeners, they want to try to figure out how your story might help them, at least for people out there who want to find a Thai partner. So we already gave some advice. I mean, we said it's a good idea to try to meet your partner through friends. I think we also made a point about the necessity to be flexible and not be too judgmental right away when a potential Thai partner is acting a certain way. What else?
I think you need to be. I think the word that comes to mind is just patience. You need to have patience in every element of being here. Like, a lot of guys come here and a lot of people come here, and they sort of rush into things. But like, I was here for 7-8 years, I think, before I met my wife.
Wow, no, I think that's a huge point. I mean, the bottom line is you did date women before you met her, and so in a way, it's like you didn't just get lucky. You didn't show up here and in a month you met this great Thai woman you wanted to marry.
Right. No, I put my time in.
Yeah, I mean, you were dating. It's not like you were suffering alone here. But the bottom line is, like anywhere else, it took you a while to find someone you wanted to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah, and I very much was aware that I was looking for quality, not quantity. And I had some short-term relationships, and I had a couple of long-term relationships. But it was, it was very similar to the West. It was waiting until you know that, like, all right, this is who I want to be with. And you don't need to jump the gun. You don't need to rush into anything. And I guess that applies to any country, really, not specifically to Thailand. But in Thailand, it is really easy as a guy anyway to go out and meet people and meet girls and get girlfriends. And
yeah, I mean, once you decide you want like a serious relationship, the bottom line is it's not going to be quick and easy by definition.
No. Now, the one thing that I definitely need to keep in mind a lot of the times is that, and we have talked about this on previous shows, is that Bangkok gives me a charge all the time, every day. I love Bangkok. I get energy from it. But to my wife, it's her hometown. It's boring. It's just standard old Bangkok,
Right.
So you have to respect that, and you have to respect that that's going to energize a little bit of wanderlust in them, a little bit of curiosity. And if you're always wanting to stay in Bangkok and hang out here, then again, you need to be flexible and understand that for them, this is just as boring as it would be for you staying back in your home city.
Yeah,
like if you were in Cleveland or something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. The bottom line is, for us, Bangkok is just magical and charming and frustrating and chaotic, and but for most Thai people, it's Tamadam, man.
It's just Bangkok.
It just means nothing, So yeah, we just have different eyes,
Right. If we go back home and someone says, "Oh, where do you live?" and you say Bangkok, they're like, "Whoa, holy shit!"
Yeah.
But if you go to Chiang Mai and you say, "Where do you live?" Bangkok, and a Thai person, they'd be like, "Oh, ugh."
Yeah, right, really.
There's all that noise and traffic. How's that working out for you?
Right. Exactly.
And as we're wrapping up here too, I also want to mention a couple things about having a kid, because my son is 5. And again, patience and flexibility, because my son is the product of 2 cultures, and he's the product of 2 very different belief systems. He's influenced by Buddhism. I'm not religious. So I have to be really respectful and patient with him and what he believes, because he's young enough and he's impressionable, and like he's learning a lot of things that are things, some of them go directly against what I was told when I was a kid. Like when you have a sore throat, Ed, when you were a kid, when you had a sore throat, what did you do?
Well, ice cream could soothe a sore throat.
Right. Ice cream. You have a sore throat as a kid, you have ice cream. You suggest that to your wife when your kid has a sore throat, she's going to look at you like you suggested he eat raw chicken's blood. Like it's absolutely insane that you would even suggest having ice cream with a sore throat. It's the little things like that you're like, what? That's what I grew up with. That was like mom's remedy, right? But and it extends from there, and it goes to learning language and to learning culture and to learning etiquette and cultural sensitivities and stuff like that. Your kid is going to be learning all these things through lessons that I didn't learn, that I have no experience with.
Right.
So it's almost like I'm learning them through him.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, I think that's the right attitude. The bottom line is, for you, like you can kind of see things through his eyes.
Yeah, I'm learning vicariously through him. And dude, when he gets a little bit older and starts reading Thai and stuff, I might buy the same books that he does and just sit next to him and like, learning the homework.
That's great.
Yeah, but I think that's the lesson from that, is sort of the broader lesson for the whole discussion, is that you can't demand someone act in a certain way when they are either the product of Thailand or the product half the product of Thailand. Like you just need to be flexible and understand that things are not going to work your way, and let that be part of the charm.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Yeah. I don't really have much more to say on this, man. I think if you're here and you're looking to settle down, quality over quantity, take your time and enjoy the quirks and the foibles, because those are what make it real and interesting.
Agreed.
Yeah. Good for us. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of life in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something that we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with, no matter how we feel about it. And this week, it is my turn.
All right.
Now, Ed, I'm going to play you a little sound here, a little sound clip. What do you think of this? So, Ed, that is called a pin. It is a traditional instrument from northeast Thailand. You mostly hear it on the streets with buskers playing on the sidewalks. What do you think of that?
Well, I got to be honest. I've tried to get into Thai country music and Thai traditional music, but the bottom line is I really don't like it. I mean, I really wish I did. I wish it was something that absorbed me, and I would like to think that just because it's foreign, that doesn't necessarily mean I shouldn't be able to get into it. It's just something I don't relate to. But it's not like it really bothers me. I don't find it annoying. It's not like when I hear it, I think, what the heck is that? It's just something that is, it is just such a different style of music and such a different sound that I can't say I really like it. I kind of wish I could, but I can't. So I'm gonna have to go with live with.
All right, interesting. I'm a solid love on that.
Oh, really? You like it?
Yeah, I think of it as the Thai banjo. I love banjo music.
It is. It is like the Thai banjo. It's just, I don't know. It's not. I like the banjo a lot more than I like the pin.
That's cool. That's cool. But I think the pin is cool. It's only got 3 strings, I think, so it sort of it encourages creativity. And there's not a lot of range with it, like a 6-string guitar or something like that. But I don't know. I find it nice. I find it comforting. It's certainly easier on the ears for me than a lot of other Thai instruments that I don't like.
Good for you, man. You're a better man than I am.
I wouldn't go that far.
All right. So, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Craig Chazelle for lending us his support at the show's shadow level. Greg, what did you find out about Craig?
Well, Ed, as it turns out, Craig is another one of our silent patrons. I never heard back from him when I sent a couple of emails out. So I got curious about who this guy was, and I started doing a little bit of research, as I always do, with the help of the old Google, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Craig is pretty close to my name, Greg, so I was immediately suspicious, of course, because, as you know, Ed, I have an extremely fragile ego.
That's right.
And I decided to compare our nomenclatural lineage. I just made that word up. I'm not sure if it's real or not, but it is now.
I like it.
So Ed, tell me which one of these you think is cooler. I'm going to tell you the meaning of my name, Greg. Through folk etymology, the name also became associated with Latin, meaning flock or herd. The association with a shepherd who diligently guides his flock contributed to the name's popularity among monks and popes. It invokes tenderness, leadership, and a caring nature.
Wow, okay.
Right? Sounds nice. Now here's the meaning of Craig. Craig is Scottish, Irish, and Welsh, masculine given name, all variations derived from the same Celtic branch. The name has 2 origins. In some cases, it can originate with a nickname derived from the Scottish Gaelic word craig, meaning rock, and also gives us the English word crag. It invokes permanence, resilience, inviolability.
Wow, kind of harsh, actually.
Yeah, well, it's pretty clear which one of those 2 is cooler. It's certainly not the guy that walks around taking care of sheep all day, I'll tell you that. So I'm a little bit jealous here. I think I have to fight for all Gregs and sort of stand up for my namesake, because Craig is just a way cooler name, even though it's very similar to mine. It means a completely different thing.
Well, it's fascinating because I would have guessed that those 2 names are related to each other, but according to this, they have different sources.
Right, that's what I would have thought too. So mine is clearly sort of like the soft cream puff name, and Craig is really sort of like the hard rock, the resilience, the permanence.
It sounds like yin and yang, Greg, and you're just not the masculine one of the pair. I'm sorry.
I guess not. Well, Craig, you are the yin to my yang, and we thank you for your support, man, and I am in awe of your manly name. And if you need me, I will be over here tending to my flock. Next time you're in Thailand, let's go for a beer, and we can talk about sheep shearing or something like that. And you can tell me how permanent you are, because you are a rock, my friend, a rock.
All right, thanks a lot, Craig. A final thanks to all of our patrons who help keep the show ad-free. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Right, and you can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can chat with us online, or you can reach out to me directly on Twitter if you so wish, where I am BKK Greg. So thank you for listening, everyone. Keep your masks on, stay inside, wash your hands. I'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, tests.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
There's got to be isn't there some warm up phrase that uses like all the vowel sounds or something? Like like there's some like entertainment people warm up phrase.
When I was doing theater back in the day, we used to say rubber baby buggy bumpers over and over again, which is really confusing.
Say that again.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. And then just kind of go.
That's not the one I was thinking of, but maybe that.
No, different vowels. You were thinking of the one with the Thai vowels.
that goes on forever. So funny.
Yeah, the warm-up part of a Thai performance is longer than the actual performance.